Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 156 of the Wise Guy Sports Show here on the Wise Guys YouTube channel. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez, and with me, as always, is the brains and most likely the brawn behind our show, JC Blue Note, Mr. Jim Carnidian. James, this is what we like to call our lost episode, or the let's talk about something for about a half hour and then go home episode. As it is,
and next week, and probably the week after that.
Well, I think we'll go into the next 2 weeks a little more prepared for being able to talk for more than 10 minutes. As this one, we just, with the short week in between our live episode Sunday night, and then, of course, today we're recording this on Wednesday night, the 15th. As James has social life stuff going on the end of the week, I am off to spend some extra time with the family because school in Georgia starts 2 weeks from tomorrow. I'm sorry, 3 weeks from tomorrow.
I was going to say 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'll be at Evanescence and Spirit Box.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks from tomorrow. It's also Mrs. Rican's birthday 3 weeks from tomorrow, which we will delve into what she told me she's going to do for her birthday when we get to it. But Jim, we do have a
Do we need to start a Kickstarter or GoFundMe campaign for bail money?
No, she told me to leave her the hell alone and go to work. I was going to take the day off and be nice. She goes, no, I want no one around. Go to work. Shut up. The kid's going to school. Okay. But Jim, I have to ask this question. Is that Tobey Maguire playing the bars to get the symbiote off of Topher Grace from the third Spider-Man?
It is not. It's just something that I've seen a bunch of Twitch streamers where their audience just annoys them by hitting them with the loudest thing that they can. So somebody clanged a whole bunch of metal pipes falling over.
That's funny.
I mean, it's good, but I mean, it's, what's more annoying, that or I think the metal pipes might be up there. The metal pipes are funnier because you don't know when they're coming.
Yeah, but still.
Should we not do that right now?
We didn't have Taylor last week, of course. But we should extend our congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Swift. I mean, Kelsey. I mean, whatever the hell their names are. Madison Square Garden, dude. I thought they were full of shit when they said that. But I would have to listen to. Did Adam Sandler do the ceremony as Adam Sandler or as Happy Gilmore?
Damn, I took all the Happy Gilmore stuff off the board.
Or Bobby Boucher.
Yeah, that would be funnier.
That would be funnier. But would it be Mr. Tight End Travis instead of Mr. Coach Klein? That's my question.
If only I could actually get a decent audio clip of the where he swings and misses and the profanity-laced tirade, which still to this day is one of the is thank God that movie never made it to VHS because I would have worn the damn thing out.
Oh God, yes. Absolutely. But Jim, what do you say we get to topic number one this evening on the show? It is unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it is the official beginning of the end of summer. As last night we had the All Star game in Philadelphia, starting with Monday's festivities of the Home Run Derby. Man, that Walker kid's good.
23.
Man, he's good. What was it? 6 dingers and 6 swings to win that thing?
Yeah.
Jordan Walker put on a show.
He's
Monday
the
night.
primary reason why the Cardinals are still are in contention for the playoffs right now.
That's amazing. And then the next night, I've seen a lot of people with last night's game talking about how, baseball's boring, baseball's this. What you saw last night was just how good the pitching in the American League is. 15 different hurlers blanked the National League 4-0, the first shutout in 13 years. Cody Bellinger wins the MVP of the game. Second Yankee in the last 3 or 4 years to win it, if I'm not mistaken, because Stanton won it in 22 in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody wins it this year, of course, in Philly. I will say there was a couple things I took away from the little bit of the game I watched. I want to say out loud and on the internet that if the Philly fans boo Mr. and Mrs. Met like that again, we're going to have some problems.
I'm glad that you brought that up. Go ahead and finish your statement because I want to talk about Philly fan.
Second thing, I thought it was hilarious. Bryce Harper swung at his back foot slider, and I don't remember who threw it, but he was mic'd up and he's walking away going, "Sorry, boys, that was nasty. That was filthy. I'm sorry."
It was Cleveland Guardians star Parker Messick.
Was it Parker Messick?
It was Parker Messick.
Okay, I thought Messick was left-handed. No. Well, hey, what is it with young Cleveland pitching?
It was the only strikeout that Messick threw.
Well, then good. As long as it was Bryce, I'm okay with it.
15 different pitchers,
what were you going to say?
And the only one that didn't throw a strikeout was Baker, who closed it out in the 9th inning. 15 strikeouts. The National League only managed 3 goddamn hits.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
I mean, Lopez, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Soto were the only 3 that actually had hits for the National League.
I mean, listen, you can look at it one of two ways. The game is dog shit, or you can actually look at it what it is, and that is the American League pitching is just nasty.
And only 2 walks. I don't think the National League didn't have a runner reach second base pretty much all night.
No, I didn't see many runners in scoring position. I didn't watch the whole thing. So let me just, because it was on the app on here, I did watch a little bit of it. I watched Soto get his base hit off of Joe Ryan from Minnesota. And I will say this, the bit that I did watch, I was very impressed with the pitching. And again, I was a pitcher when I was a kid, so that's why I was impressed with it. But I'll tell you what, I think that bodes very well for the American League, and with some of the guys you saw who could be on the move in the next couple of weeks, it could bode very well for whatever teams decide to be buyers at the deadline. I don't think Ryan's going to be in Minnesota much longer. He's going to make somebody's rotation that much better. So I'm interested to see what the American League pitching, what they did, is going to do to the landscape come what was it? August 1st is a Saturday. Sunday, the first Monday in August. Let's see what they do.
4th, yeah.
Interesting, they pushed it back a couple days too. The deadline, that July 31st was always fun. Especially sitting at work watching the phone, like, well, who's going where? Jim, your takeaways from the game besides the pitching being that good?
I like the fact that the managers ran everybody very short out there. Robleski in the National League was the only pitcher that ended up pitching longer than really 1 inning. Really the entire night on the official stat sheet. He threw 2 innings, struck out 5, 1 run, 1 hit,
Jesus.
1 earned run. They did not throw Mizrowski out there, but you also have to figure it was Milwaukee's manager. He's not going to throw his ace out there at that point.
It was Dave Roberts.
Dylan Cease gets the win. Strikes out the first 3 batters of the game for the National League. Sanchez gives up all 3 runs in the first inning, and really, I mean, that was it up until the 8th inning, where the American League just put 1 on the board. Nobody threw. I mean, Sanchez threw 34 pitches. Robleski threw 29. Dylan Cease threw 25. Nobody else topped 20 the entire night. Didn't really have to. But I understand cheering for your hometown team. I understand the knock that Philly fan gets, but for them to outright boo Walker basically out of the building the entire finals, and then basically boo anytime one of their guys was like up at the plate or Sanchez was on the mound. It leaves a really bad taste. Have a little bit of class. I understand that Philly fans really don't have a whole lot, and that's one of the reasons why it's like if it were me, Philly wouldn't host another All-Star game in baseball for the next 30 years. That was disgraceful.
I don't think Philly should host anything anytime. But that's just me, and I don't like the Phillies. But Jim, we did have some history in this game, and I have you the Big Weekend stat of the week. Of course, we saw Dylan Cease of the Toronto Blue Jays and Chris Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies start the game last night. Did you know it was the first time since 2009 that a Toronto Blue Jay started the All-Star game? And it's the first time since 2011 that a Philadelphia Philly started the All-Star game. You know who they were?
Dave Stewart, Jack McDowell,
Roy Halladay on both counts.
Wow. The late, great Roy Halladay.
The late, great Doc Halladay is the last pitcher to start the All-Star game for the Blue Jays and the Phillies before last night. I saw that, and I meant to bring it up on Sunday night, and I'll tell you what, I'm glad I didn't because I think it's a little bit more fitting tonight when we're recapping the game and how cool that was. But, Jim, I'll tell you what, it's still the MLB All Star game. It is still the only All Star game that is actually played as a regular game as opposed to these BS things that we get out in the world of football, basketball, and hockey. Hockey's close to a regular game. I will give hockey that. They're the closest to not being an actual just regular exhibition game. But
I mean, they've kind of turned it into a 3-on-3 tournament in recent years, but yeah.
Yeah. And so I say this to all the baseball haters out there. When you play a regular game and pitching dominates, it's a regular game. Shut up.
It's funny that the biggest stories that came out of the entire weekend for really, outside of the home run derby, nobody really gives a crap about the All-Star game itself. People tune in and they'll watch, but it's like, just to be able to see their guy get out there for an inning or something. But the two factors that came out of that, thankfully, Junior Camanero's x-rays came back negative, so he'll be ready for when the Rays start back up on Friday. And then the ad campaign that was put out there for the salary cap.
Yeah, that was not cool.
Well, we're not gonna spend a whole bunch of time on this, but very quickly, I mean, ESPN, when they ran the story, made a very good point, is that or even Rob Manfred, for as much as we shit on him, it's he made a really good point about this, is that which is why you're going to see this impasse, is because the players are asking for a salary floor, but you also have to realize that even with the revenue sharing, and even if the money is put back into their pockets, that is all spent, some of these small market teams cannot spend to really get to that level. The two factors that he brought up, there is a $440 million discrepancy from the Dodgers at the top to the Pirates at the very bottom in terms of spending. That's number one. Number two, the fact that we need the salary cap is because of the fact that there's no parity left in baseball anymore. Michael, can you name the last time a small market team won the World Series that did not have a payroll in the top 8? And it's going to hit close to home.
Was it the 2003 Marlins?
It was the 2016,
the 2015 Kansas City Royals
over the Mets. That was the last time a team did not have a top 10 payroll and won the World Series. The Rangers were a top 6 that year. Major market in that Dallas-Fort Worth. DC was a top 6 major market in that DC area where they really have all 6 pro sports teams: hockey, baseball, football, basketball, soccer, and WNBA. They've got all 6. Um, the Dodgers have won 3 in that time frame. Boston's got one since then. It's every single one of those, every single thing 2017 on has been a major market team that has a massive, massive payroll. And this is where, people are going to say, you're going to argue against it. I think that right there is the key as to where the owners are going to fight for that tooth and nail, and then the players are going to ask for that salary floor. And there is such a $440 million gap. That's why we're going to get this impasse.
I will say this, and then I'll give you the what I thought was the coolest part of the night about it. If the owners were made to go to a floor of salary, one, the gap would not be 440 million. And you're right, that's an insane amount of money. I agree 200%. Two, you would see some of these big ticket guys not leaving because these idiots would be forced to pay them. And then your discrepancy parity would go like this.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that the Dolans with the Guardians cannot go out and pay. For example, they can't pay Mike Trout $35 million a year, to come here. They can't pay Cody Bellinger $40 million out there, even with the revenue sharing, because they're not in the market to be able to do it. Because of the fact that they don't have New York money. They don't have LA fuck you money. They don't have Miami fuck you money. They don't have Philly fuck you money.
I prefer fuck you Philly money, but and I understand that. But it begs the question, and just this is just food for thought. It begs the question, then why are the small market teams the ones that operate in the black, the ones that owners get to line their pockets, and you have big market teams, with big payrolls, I agree with you 100%, operating in the red, and any revenue goes into the franchise. That's my point. My point is, you have these guys who make a shit ton of money in their personal lives, and they decide to buy a sports franchise, and they use it as not an investment tool. They use it as an income vehicle. There are very few sports franchises in the world that can be used as an income vehicle. And you and I both know that from the amount of sports we watch and follow and now really report on it here. The guys who are using it as an income vehicle are buying the small market teams and then crying the poorhouse when they're taking that money in the black and lining their pockets. You have guys in the big markets, and yes, the Dodgers make their money back because of their presence outside of the country. Same thing with the Yankees. Same thing with the Mets when they're not playing like the worst team in fucking baseball. But the one thing I will give Steve Cohen is he constantly reinvests in the franchise. Any dollar that he makes off of the New York Mets goes back into the New York Mets. Any dollar the Dolans make off the Cleveland Guardians goes into their back fucking pocket for them to cry that they don't have the money to put a payroll on the field.
Well, that's also
my problem.
That's also because that's the Dolan, and look at that whole family. Look at what James did, at the parade when the Knicks won.
I agree with you, and that's my point. I'm starting to warm on the salary cap portion of it. I am warming more on the get rid of the deferrals of salaries on it. I'm starting to warm to a soft cap and a hard floor. Because you're not going to get a hard cap and a soft floor. The players never go for that. But if you get a soft cap and you do the penalties like they're doing now and a hard floor, well, now you're putting the onus on these guys who are pocketing this money, this hard-earned money of their fan bases who watch them lose, and saying, listen, motherfucker, you got to start putting some of this revenue back into the franchise. Pittsburgh is the most beautiful park in the game. They fill it almost every night because people want to go see the park. and he's taking the money and running. This is the same idiot who took the 21 off the wall in right field for a fucking sponsorship. Come on now.
I mean, I can understand that, but um, I can understand with the soft floor, and it's not so much the. I can say this because I watch Smosh Reads Reddit stories every week, and just the whole "am I the asshole" thing. It's like, oh well,
Yeah.
he did this in the relationship. You need to dump him or dump her immediately. And it's not that simple with baseball. You can't just actually say, well, if they don't have the money, sell the team. There's only so many billionaires out there that are willing to invest in major pro sports franchises. You got to be honest. For those of out of
Agreed.
there's 124 of them between the four major sports, and each one's real. I mean, each one is over that $750 million threshold. There's not too many guys out there that are going to do that. We just saw the world champion Seahawks get sold for 9.8 million by the minority owner of the Niners, who, to avoid antitrust, has got to sell his stake in the franchise, effective immediately for that thing to go through. But it's you can actually, if you make them start putting some of that money back into the franchise, you still got the disparity, because at that point you're still getting, it's basically LeBron, Giannis, Cat, Ant, all going to like the Lakers, the Knicks, the Celtics. It's basically like you're building all-star teams, and then they're the ones going out and contending every year because they can buy up all the high price talent, whereas everybody else has got to build from within and then get lucky. That's what Tampa's doing now with that really poor payroll. Is they're getting lucky because they're getting finally progression. Let's see what the Guardians look like here in the second half of the year once Jose Ramirez comes back, especially with the fact that they're bringing up all these kids and look to possibly be buyers for a couple of expiring contracts at the trade deadline. The Mets are going to start selling everybody off. The Phillies could end up being buyers. The Red Sox, even though they're under 500, are going to be buyers because of how red hot they are. But it's still the fact that the Red Sox have that fuck you money.
I agree with you. And there's a lot of things wrong with the game. There's a lot of things right with the game. And the owners have to look themselves in the mirror and take some onus for this too.
Well, they're the ones that enabled it. And the problem is you let the inmates run the asylum. But now the problem is you got to push back. And the only way
you can push back.
But the only way that you can actually push back with this, Mike, is unfortunately you're going to have to actually lock the damn doors until they actually concede something. Otherwise, they're going to end up not only running the asylum, but owning the damn place.
But here's my question. And this is a legit question. Yeah, you can't let the inmates run the asylum, but you're not putting money back into the franchise you purchased, and you're making the money on their backs. Make it make sense to me. So basically, let's use a different analogy. Let's use a different analogy than a sports team. Let's use, I don't know. Let's use technology. Man needs technology. Man has technology. Man makes extra money with technology. What does man do? Puts money back into technology to make it that much better, to make everything easier. Man buys sports team, and man buys baseball team, or woman, or whoever. Pays salaries of players who draw fans, who purchase items, including tickets and gear and food and everything else. People who own the team don't put that revenue back into the team to make it better, and then piss and moan they don't have money, but they bought another fucking yacht with that money. That's where the disconnect with me and people who are hard cap people are. And I get it. the owners allowed this. The owners are the ones who spent the money initially. It was George Steinbrenner and the people who own the Dodgers throwing out the first $100 million contracts. I get that. I do. And it was the guy from the Rangers who paid A-Rod $275. And it was the Red Sox who took Manny from the Indians at the time for all that money, and Pedro from Montreal, and then the Mets did their thing here and there. But here's the part that gets me. For every team that brings in 2 or 3 high-priced free agents, they have to have a farm system that builds players, that puts them on the rosters. There has been no team in any history of this game, even the big disparity with the payrolls, that has won a championship without having multiple players that were brought through their farm system to get this thing right and get a title and put a ring on somebody's finger. It hasn't been.
I agree with that, because baseball, unlike any of the other, well, really hockey, is the only one that has a true farm system. The NFL doesn't have it. The NBA, you can't really say with the G League, because you're getting 2 or 3 guys out of that every year. The NHL, you got guys getting, making it right out of camp and then getting sent down after the first 10 games to keep their eligibility with 2-way contracts. You're having them, once their junior teams or college teams are there, you're actually having them brought up the final 10 games of the regular season just to be able to, keep with that there. But I mean, when you look at any of the other sports that have caps, you look at the parity out there. I mean, I'm just looking right now at the NHL. Anaheim had a very low, they had a ton of salary cap room and won a playoff series. Now they've actually had the worst off season of any team I can ever remember. Now going out and signing a guy for $18 million when they matched an offer sheet from Philly for John Carlson. But I mean, Buffalo was competitive this year with a ton of salary cap room. Vegas went over the cap every year up until the new CBA kicked in, and Vegas actually got to a final this year. But it's still the fact of, you look at just about every team out there, with the exception of Detroit, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit, that has been in the playoffs and relatively competitive in the playoffs, really going back the last 10 to 15 years, with the Sabres breaking their playoff drought, the one continuing on. The Islanders, who were doldrums for years, went to 3 straight conference finals against Tampa Bay in that bubble. And then one other year, they went back to back. Toronto has a massive payroll. They just got it. The thing is in the other sports, it's almost like the Days of Thunder analogy, and we'll wrap the segment up here in a second. It's not about getting beat by other cars, it's getting beat by other drivers. In the other sports, you're all on the same playing field with what you can spend and what you actually have. And then it's not so much the owners opening up their checkbook at that point. It's incompetent general managers and coaching staffs not getting that group of talent to come together. In baseball, unfortunately, Mike, we just don't have that.
You're right, and I'll leave you with this question.
You've got the upper 5% that has 90% of the talent out there.
So I'm going to leave you with one question, and then we can cut the segment. Of the 4 majors, which one of the 4 majors went the longest without having a back-to-back champion? Just say it.
Baseball, yeah, because we had Golden State, we had the Panthers, and we had the Chiefs.
Okay. So the sport without the parity went 25 years in between back-to-back champions. But there's a parity problem.
But it's also the Red Sox winning 2 in 5 years, the Dodgers winning 3 out of the last 5 with record payrolls.
I will see that and raise you the New England Patriots.
who still had a salary cap and actually had all the parity out there. Now, granted, we all know that really out of their 7 titles, 4 have got big asterisks on them.
Oh, should be thrown out.
Well, Michael, I don't know what the talk is down there in Georgia, but up here in Cleveland, they're only talking about 2 things. They're talking about Jose Ramirez getting ready to come back for the Guardians in the next 2 weeks, and we're on LeBron Watch Week 2, Part 3 at this point. So nothing has changed. It's still the same 4 teams, but there's, according to ESPN radios and longtime fans in us, Uncle Riz, Tony Rizzo, LeBron is roster shaping and likes what he's evaluating everything at this point. So he saw the signing of he saw the trade with Jaylen Brown going to Philly. The idea of him and Steph playing together in Golden State is intriguing, although there's a lot of people saying it just looks wrong considering how much they were on opposite sides. If he really doesn't have anything back there with Miami outside of Pat Riley, and Spoelstra. That's really about it. There's nothing else there. He's already had an in-person meeting with Dan Gilbert in Cleveland. Philly, he doesn't really have anything there. He doesn't have any of those previous, agreements or really courtships. And he's only played for 3 franchises, Michael: the Lakers, the Heat, the Cavaliers. He's won championships with all of them. He's leaving one of those and possibly going back to one or the other. I don't think Miami's really in play here that much, even after the Giannis trade. I got to think right now it's between Philly and Cleveland. And what you talked about last week, I'm starting to think it may actually happen. I mean, could we actually see an announcement as early as tomorrow? Because he always tends to do these things when there's not something else major going on in the world. Yeah, we got the opening of the British Open, or the Open Championship starting tomorrow across the pond. But in the U.S., we've got nothing. We've got some WNBA games, all due respect to the WNBA. Baseball is on hiatus for,
till Friday.
Well, I mean, the Mets and Phillies are back tomorrow, to officially kind of kick off the second half of the season. But, it's going to be a few extra days for everyone to get back into the swing of things. NFL camps don't open for 2 more weeks. The World Cup semifinals finished up today, and then we're going to have our 3rd place and championship matches this weekend. So there's nothing else out there. Could we see an announcement as early as tomorrow, maybe Friday?
I really believe we could. I was looking when we started the segment. I was looking at my phone, see if there's anything that came up while we were sitting there. I don't think team is what's really going to make this or break this move. I think he's deciding if this is his final year. And if it's his final year, it will be Cleveland. I don't believe that someone who is as deeply rooted in that community as he is, and even though he went to LA, he is still Akron is home. He has said that every minute of every day. I think he's trying to decide if this is the final year. If it's not the final year, I can see him signing a 1-year deal somewhere else just to go play with somebody, be it Steph, be it Embiid and Jaylen Brown, even Giannis in South Beach.
Maxey and Philly,
but if it is his final season, I don't believe he will go anywhere but home to Cleveland. Having said that, Jim, I think a second domino falls when he decides where he's going. I wouldn't be shocked to see DeMar DeRozan sign a league minimum deal wherever LeBron goes. Because I want you to think about something. We're talking about once the league gets done with the investigation with Kawhi and the Clippers. Kawhi's going back to Toronto. And if anybody remembers, they made the deal to get Kawhi and won a championship that year, and DeRozan went to San Antonio. DeMar DeRozan is one of those players that, in my opinion, deserves a championship. You don't have a lot of them elsewhere. Like in baseball, for me, it's Ken Griffey Jr. and Mike Trout are the only two players I firmly believe deserve a championship. In football, it was Marino and Elway before he got his. But in basketball, DeMar DeRozan's at the top of that list. He's a good player, really good player, who is not only that, but he's a good dude. He's just a straight good dude. He could have left Toronto how many times in free agency,
right,
and decided to stay to build something. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. And if he's making rosters, he knows Kobe, Altman, he knows Dan Gilbert. He also knows if he said, hey guys, listen, DeMar wants to come in and play. He's going to take less money. Let's go get him. I don't think Kobe Altman says no, because then you bring him off the bench. I think the rumors that have come out on social media that they're trying to angle this to get Kyrie back is horseshit, and don't do it.
Right.
As much as I love Kyrie Irving, and I still do, you were a fucking child and walked away, bro. That's what you were. You were a fucking child. So yeah, I'd be interested to see where he lands. I will stick to this for as long as I live. I believe he will be going to Cleveland. I believe this will be his final year. I think your idea of them saying that on the 41st home game, the final one, that 23 goes up in the rafters, they announced the statue, and let Dan Gilbert sell him part of the team. It's not going to mess up any of his other business ventures. He makes more money than God.
Right. I mean, I don't think legally he could do it during the season, but who's to say once the cap season ends next summer?
Well,
knowing the Cavaliers right now with the way that they perform, which would be what, early May, second round, somewhere in there.
Emotional damage.
Jackass.
Wait, what did you call me?
Jackass.
Got it right there.
You're gonna die, clown!
I did have a Happy Gilmore still on there.
Oh God, if he did that at the wedding.
But he's going to know that this is not his team. If he goes, let's kind of break everything down here with the four teams that are up there, because there's not going to be somebody coming out of left field here. We can go in any order we want, but I'll start with Golden State. Again, him staying out on the West Coast, really only going a couple of hours up the road from LA to San Jose, San Francisco area. Not going to be a huge issue for him. Sabrina and all them can stay in LA at that point. He can make the commute back and forth. But him going up against them 4 years and then also running into them in the playoffs when he was in LA, it would just look weird. The fact that he was the one that denied the greatest dynasty in history. I don't know how well he'd be received, but it's also the fact that that's just the way that he's wired. Wherever he's going to go, he's going to want to be. He's not going to be the alpha dog at this point in his career, but he's also got to know at that point now, Draymond's nearly at the end of the road. Steph's nearly at the end of the road. LeBron is at the end of the road. I mean, if he goes to Golden State, is this really a swan song for all three of them at that particular point? I mean, does Golden State strip everything down if all three of those guys walk away if he signed there?
Yeah, and let me do this. In my opinion, I think you can cross Philly off the list. I think Embiid's health issues over the years are just too much of a variable he doesn't want to mess with at the age of 42. I mean, seriously, if you think about it, first of all, they'd have to get Draymond back in order for the Golden State thing to work, because you'd have to put LeBron at the point and have Steph run the two and go from there. And then you're going to need Draymond to play defense. In Philly, you cannot guarantee that you will have Joel Embiid for more than 20 games a season. And Tyrese Maxey, good player. Jaylen Brown is the known commodity there now, and he plays all 82. He plays hard. He's a good player. He's not getting ring number 5 there. Miami is intriguing for this reason. He could play point guard on that team because Giannis and Bam are underneath. So I get that. He doesn't have to play the 3. Jim, I'm telling you, aesthetic, storyline, and team makeup, Cleveland is the fit. You have the powerful front court that he doesn't need to handle the ball. You can put him in at the 3, and you have 2 young guys who play very well. One who's a great rim protector, and the other one who will probably learn from this guy and get better. You have a decent bench. You have Dennis Schroeder, who he played with the Lakers. Could have a bench spot open for his kid. Not saying that they're going to do that, but I'm saying of the places he could land that roster-wise could make it work to where he's not option A, still have quality and depth. Cleveland's, it's the perfect fit, dude. It is. When you look at all these teams, Golden State has nothing besides Steph Curry. Nothing. Philly has an off-injured generational center who hasn't played more than 30 games in a season. In how long?
Right.
Miami is so front court heavy now that he'd be forced to run the point. And then there's Cleveland.
Because in Miami, I'm looking at their depth chart right now. If the season were to start now, you got Davion Mitchell and Tim Hardaway Jr. in your backcourt. Tim Hardaway Jr. at 87 years old. Andrew Wiggins, how ironic would that be? That Wiggins, to be able to get LeBron in, you got to ship Wiggins out with the number 1 pick, because we never saw Kevin Love's name rumored until 48 hours before the signing officially happened back in 2015, in the summer of 2015. And then, of course, you got Giannis and then Bam, and then Bobby Portis would actually be the 6th man there. So LeBron would instantly make that better, but there's still not a ton there in the cabinet. Let me go to Philly here really quick. Philly's depth would look Maxey at the point, BJ Edgecombe at the 2. Anthony Simons would actually be kind of the depth and the filler there. Jaylen Brown at the 3, Dean Wade at the 4, Joel Embiid at the 5, and then you got Dominic Barlow and Adem Bona, very good players who could definitely step in. So Philly, if he's looking to chase a ring, I think that might be one of his better options. And then naturally, we already know most of what we're getting here with Cleveland. You got Harden at the 1, Donovan at the 2, Strus at the 3. Tyson can fill in there from there. Merrill can fill in from there. You got Mobley at the 4, Jared Allen at the 5, Naquan Tomlin you actually picked up in the draft. You got Tyrese Proctor who can fill in a little bit with there. And then also the possibility of adding maybe in DeRozan and Bronny just to be able to fill out roster spots at that point. So Cleveland is starting to make a lot more sense, but I think right now it's got to come down to Cleveland or Philly. Does he want to come home and call it quits? Does he want to chase number 5? Because I think he's got a better chance of getting number 5 with Philly than he does Cleveland, if I'm being 100% honest.
And I respectfully disagree, because the linchpin there is going to be Joel Embiid, and he's never there. He's just never there. And that's why I said before, this is not about ring number 5. This is not about this. He is making the decision if this is the final season he's going to play. And that's the one we're waiting on.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Wise Translator. It is the best segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. It is that time when James and I give each other names inside and outside of the sports world, and we give to you the first thing that pops into our sleep-addled, caffeine-ridden minds. As per usual, since we have fixed the recording issues we were having, we now have the debut of what I call the funniest 5 minutes of my week. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's Chronicle.
I have to preface this. You have to pay
Here we
attention
go.
to current events. You
Okay.
have to know what's happened in the news in the last 24 hours. You also have to have a bit of knowledge of 80s pop culture trivia because this is going to be a bit of a deep cut. Michael,
Not the
Do
one
you
I thought
know-
you were going with.
do you know who the line is from?
I know it's hilarious. I'm not putting it. It's not connecting.
I'm trying to find the image and I will put it up there, assuming it has not refreshed on my feed.
There are two other 80s pop culture ways you could have gone. I don't know if you saw the orange guy watching Fox News the other day, and it's the whole scene from Spaceballs. What are we watching? We're watching now, sir.
Now,
When will it be then? Soon.
oh, it's still here. Oh, okay, I found it.
Yes. I thought it was going to be either that one or we were going for Weekend at Bernie's.
No, that's actually saved for the other two clowns, that we talked about last week.
Yeah, but last week it would have been bad form to do Weekend at Bernie's. This week's a different animal.
I mean, it still could apply to one of them at this point because we still don't have cardinal proof.
That's true. You said cardinal proof. Look at the hat you're wearing.
Freudian slip. It's a long day. It's hotter than fuck right now.
So, James,
And I'm
since
still
it is
com-
incumbent upon
and-
me,
And it's still, 4 days later, and I'm still coming down over 10 Ocon.
so Jim, it is incumbent upon me to give you the first name of tonight's translator, and I'm actually going to go with a very current event, and it's something we haven't ever touched on this person. Jim, your first name of tonight's Wisey translator is Jimmy V Award for Perseverance recipient Jim Abbott.
He kind of changed, baseball. Back in the mid '90s, he was very successful for a few years there. Naturally, you had to figure with the disability, it was eventually going to catch up to him. It did, but the work they don't give this award out for just anybody. Dickie V's won this award. Stuart Scott's won this award. This is not something that is passed around very lightly. And I couldn't actually think, unfortunately, sometimes with these awards, it's almost the equivalent of going into like a wrestling Hall of Fame, is that, okay, who haven't we picked yet? Who's up on the docket? Who have we passed over? Jim Abbott deserves this award for all the work that he's done in the years really since his career has ended, and continues to do to this day.
I agree with you. And of course, the couple career highlights, one of the few players to wear maize and blue that I actually respect. But more than that, Jim Abbott had a halfway decent career with the bat. And the pinnacle of his career, of course, throwing the no-hitter against Cleveland when he was with the Yankees in 1993. Either 92 or 93 because it was the old uniforms and the old stadium.
Right.
But Baerga was on the team, so I can't remember what year Baerga came up.
That had to have been 93 because Gateway opened in 94 because that was the strike year.
Yeah, so it 93. Jim Abbott throws a no-hitter against Cleveland. Listen, man, I saw that he won that, and I was pumped. I was absolutely pumped. So good for him. What do you got for me?
Michael, your name in the YZ translator is one I've kind of given you before in the past, but she made some comments earlier this week that really made people stand up and notice. And then also, she's actually having her, as good as she was last year in her debut, she's doing even better now, and was also the focal point of something that happened in her sport earlier tonight. Your name tonight in the YZ translator is Dallas Wings star guard Paige Beckers.
I'm going to give her this title, and people will look at me funny. Diana Part 2.
I might go.
You think she's backing it up with the play? She is just as strong-willed. She is just as strong-minded. And her legacy will go far beyond the basketball court like Diana Taurasi's did. She is Diana Part 2. And Gino Auriemma knew it because those are the two players that he'd like to smack around and hug at the same time.
Yeah. Am I wrong in saying that if you actually had to pick maybe a starting five for best players in the WNBA, regardless of position, she's already in the photo in her second year?
Agreed. She playing the two.
Yeah. It's Paige was actually picked number 1 overall in the WNBA All Star draft earlier this afternoon. And then also made some very poignant comments earlier this week where she kind of criticized the WNBA ownership for the fact that there are no black female head coaches.
Oh, she has no fear. I will say this. There are two people who I think would make very good head coaches in the WNBA. One of them has one of the funniest scenes in the All the Smoke podcast history is Cheryl Miller. When they get asked, you got to watch it if you haven't seen it, when they ask her how tight was Reggie when you scored 105. Oh my God. Hilarious. Cheryl Miller. Jim, I think someone should throw a brag of money at Dawn Staley.
Cheryl Miller, I think at her age, I don't think she wants it because first of all, she's too good of an announcer. Number two, she's too much of an ambassador of the game. Dawn sitting on a gold mine right now, it would basically be no different than Coach K or Gino or the late Pat Summitt jumping to the NBA. She would never do it. Because I also have to be honest, Mike, if I'm being dead solid honest, what she kind of pulls and the way that she kind of acts down there in 1A ball, she can't get away with that in the WNBA. She'd get tossed most nights.
No, you're probably right. I'm just saying if you had to pick ones that come to the top of my mind, like Cynthia Cooper tried it, was not very good. Lisa Leslie might be a good coach.
She could. I think
she's got the temperament.
I think she's in that that range. The last, according to the ESPN report, there are 7 of the 15 current head coaches in the WNBA are women. The last black woman to hold the head coaching position was Noelle Quinn, who coached Seattle for parts of 5 years, and the team decided not to renew her contract, which was a very, very controversial move last summer because Quinn coached Seattle for 4 full seasons, and then the year before that, when Norm Snyder abruptly resigned 6 games into the season, she took over and got Seattle to 4 playoff appearances in 5 years. She lost to Vegas in the first round 3 of those years. She only went to the second round once, but that was also when the WNBA first 2 rounds were only a 1-game playoff, and then the conference finals and the semis were best of 3. Now that they've actually gone to best of 3 in the first and second round, gone to best of 5, and they're going to go to best of 7 here when the league expands out to 50 games starting next year. People forget, and Becker's also mentioned it in the ESPN article. Her stepmother is black. Her AAU coach is black. Her high school coach was black. She didn't really have a white coach until she got to Stores. She's got a white coach now. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the representation isn't where it should be. But I will say this, and I'm going to take a line from The West Wing and give it here. The West Wing, when it came out, it was a liberal TV show, liberal administration. Only 2 people of color in the cast. One of them being John Amos, who played the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and of course, Greg Hill.
I'm going to interrupt for 1 second, Mike. Can you actually repeat that because your volume got very, very low? I couldn't hear that.
Sorry.
There we go.
So I'm going to take a line from The West Wing. It was a liberal administration, not real representation in the cast for that. 2 people of color. John Amos, of course, of Good Times fame, was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs at that point in the show, and then Dule Hill from Psych and other things was the president's personal aide. Leo McGarry's John Spencer's character, Leo McGarry, says, "This isn't central casting. We get the right guy for the job and we move on." If that person is right for the job, move on. If the person is not being hired that's right for the job, then we have beef. 100%. So if you find somebody right for the job, give them the job. Give them the job. Don't do it because players are saying it should happen. I know it's probably going to sound a little mean, but get it on the merits, no matter who it is. It's like a blind taste test. You get it. You take the thing you like.
It's kind of
do it the right way.
And I don't want to turn this into that type of argument for the segment of the show that we're in, but you also kind of have to look at your. It's a very, very thin line that you're walking now, because you also not only have to look at your fan base, but you also have to look at your talent pool. The majority of WNBA players are black. The majority of NBA players are black, and yet we don't have
same thing in the NFL.
Yeah, and you don't have very many minority coaches in either. In the NHL, you don't have a whole lot of European coaches out there yet. Granted, the U.S. and Canada market take up the majority of the players, but there is a very, very heavy European influence between Finland, Czechia, Sweden, Russia, everyone kind of, coming in with this, and you'd figure you'd have more European style head coaches. I know it might not be, they might be trying to instill the game that they play over, in those leagues coming over here, but it's still partial misrepresentation of the product. So it does actually alarm me a little bit more that there's not, that Quinn was the last one, because also people remember with the Unrivaled series that happens during the WNBA offseason, she coached Beckers this past season.
I forgot about that. You're right. But Jim, I have a bonus name for you. and it's because it's right up your alley. And you are the hockey guru, as I would like to call you. And we had an alarming, to me anyway, because I'm the nostalgic person of the two of us, move today in the front offices in the NHL, and your name, your bonus name in tonight's Wisely Translator, is now former front office executive for the Detroit Red Wings, Steve Yzerman.
You're absolutely correct, Michael. This came out of nowhere. So after 7 seasons at the helm as the GM in Detroit, where he won multiple cups and was the longest tenured captain in franchise history, Steve Yzerman abruptly stepped down as executive vice president and GM. He's going to remain serving as the organizational advisor to Governor, CEO of the franchise, Chris Ilitch. But it's very, very strange that this happens this close. Camps open because the NHL camps are going to open in mid-September. So they've got 6 weeks to be able to fill this out. Detroit, when he was there, when he actually was in Tampa, remember, they got to a final. They lost to Chicago in 2015. They were competitive. They were in the playoffs a lot of those years. Everyone thought he was going to come to Detroit. He was going to implement what they called the Yzer plan, and it never worked. They only got close to the playoffs, I want to say 2 out of those 7 years, and were abysmal this year. And not only did they not make the playoffs, for the fact that they sat in the top 5 of the NHL at one point after the All Star break and finished near the bottom. And now their best player, it already has come to fruition and light that Dylan Larkin wants out. There was no other choice here. I mean, the Red Wings were that close to kind of getting back to the playoffs, and then they got passed over and lapped by Buffalo. And now, really, the Red Wings are going to have to, I mean, first of all, they got to still pay Alex DeBrincat. Then they got to actually figure out the money scenario to be able to sign Dylan Larkin if he wants to stay, or be able to pony up the money and find a trade partner if they want to do a sign and trade. They're a mess.
Jeez. They are a mess. They are a mess. Well, we will come to you guys again next week with another episode, but this time we will have a special segment, and I'm going to pitch the name to Jim right now. The name of the segment should be The Wise Guys Figure Out What the Hell to Talk About, because it's goddamn boring in the world right now.
I got to figure out if I can get it to fit on that top line, but we'll figure. Yeah, this is the worst time of the year if you are a sports fan in North America. You've got the ending of the World Cup, this weekend. You've got the British Open, but again, that's not until the weekend. You've got baseball coming back, and teams are not going to be in the full swing until, really, yes, they're back this weekend, but people aren't going to really start kind of paying attention and getting back into it, and the players aren't going to be completely invested because they're going to have a week's worth of rust until early next week when the second series after the All Star break kicks in. You've got LeBron Watch week 3. NHL camps don't open for another month and a half. NFL camps don't open until the end of this month. We got to find something to fill, dude.
We do, and we will find a way to fill it. It will be sports related, but it may be sports media, maybe sports entertainment. It may be, we got SummerSlam coming up, don't we, Jim? I'm just saying, dude.
I'm more interested in All Out, but that's actually not until like the end of August, early September across the pond because it's AEW.
Gotcha. Well, we will see you guys next week. Same bat time. Well, at least same bat channel.
Yeah, it's I'm up against the clock a little bit trying to get tonight's episode taped. I'm still on the fence if I'm going to a concert tomorrow. Mike did mention I got some stuff coming up this weekend. So I mean, I got tomorrow and I got Friday I can cut this, but it'll be ready on time as usual for Saturday. And then we're right back at it, taping normally next week, and then we get to play. We basically get to play hot potato with our taping schedule at the end of the month because I got another concert.
Yeah.
And
We'll
I
see you
think
guys next week.
And I think maybe we'll actually take a 1 week break somewhere in there, as we always do, right before Labor Day or sometime in August, just to be able to pump the brakes and recharge the batteries a little bit. But yeah, we will see you guys next week. I'm a sweaty mess. I ain't doing that shit.
I don't have hair to worry about.